You mean the people who literally keep this country from falling apart like a stale Nature Valley bar have now been demoted? Great! Just great!
You are about to be quietly legislated back into being barefoot pregnant, sitting in your gilded cage managed by your husband.
The Trump administration just made a small change to government policy, and TikTok is losing its mind. We're going to break this down, plus so much more, in today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, my daily show where we take on the craziest ideas from across the internet and social media, all from an independent political perspective. Guys, it is so good to be back. I had a wonderful time in Mexico with some friends, relaxing, getting a little bit of sunshine, but I missed bringing you the show, and I'm probably going to take Thanksgiving Day off, but other than that, we will have normal programming this week. So we will get into all of the craziness, and there's a lot to unpack because over on TikTok, an entire discourse, and I'm talking a mega viral discourse, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of likes on each of these videos I'm going to show you, is unfolding because young people have worked themselves up into a tizzy, particularly kind of young women and some of the feminist influencer crowd, all about this idea that the Trump administration is somehow decertifying certain female-dominated professions or making it harder for them to enter the workforce if they're in certain lines of work, and basically all of it's based on nothing. It's a total misconception and extrapolation of a pretty minor policy change in the One Big Beautiful Bill. We're going to break all of it down, but first I guess I'll just show you the first video crashing out over this from channel fave Spence Waugh, the influencer with millions of followers who constantly spreads panic and propaganda when it comes to politics. Let's listen to his analysis of the Trump administration's move to reclassify certain graduate degrees as not professional degrees, which means there will be a cap on the amount of student loans that you can take out for the graduate programs that are no longer considered professional, as those loans have a slightly higher cap. But according to him, it's a profound attack on women's rights or something. Let's listen.
The Trump administration, and whenever I start off a video like that, you know it cannot be good, decided that nursing, teaching, social work, physical therapy, and like half the medical field are no longer considered professional degrees. Oh, you mean the people who literally keep this country from falling apart like a stale Nature Valley bar have now been demoted? Great! Just fucking great!
Well, he always seems so stable and well-adjusted whenever we check in on one of his videos. I want to talk about this because it's not just him. This narrative is all over the internet right now, that the Trump administration has decided that certain degrees are not professional and that they're somehow dissing these people who are in these different programs like advanced nursing programs, nurse practitioners, and this sort of thing. This is not the case. This is what is happening. All that is happening is simply that in the big, beautiful bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill that they passed, that was actually terrible in many ways, but this isn't one of them. They instituted some caps on graduate student loan borrowing. Like, for example, you can only borrow so much money for certain degrees. And they're doing this to try to tamp down on the costs, which we will get into later. But they're not judging some degrees as good or bad or professional or unprofessional or serious or unserious. That's not a thing. It's just an internal DOE designation for which ones qualify for which loan caps. It's not that deep. They're not trying to insult anyone. It changes nothing about the status of your degree or career or anything like that. I'll read here from a fact sheet the Department of Education put out. Myth versus fact, the definition of professional degrees. They put this out specifically because there's so much misinformation. President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act placed common sense limits on federal student loans for graduate degrees. These loan limits will help drive down the cost of graduate programs and reduce the debts students have to take out. Graduate students receive more than half of all new federal student loans originated in recent years. Under the Act, the agency is required to identify professional degree programs that will be eligible for higher federal lending limits. A negotiating committee convened by the agency has proposed a consensus definition that designates medicine, MD, dentistry, law, and several other high-cost programs as eligible for a $200K borrowing limit. Students who pursue a degree in the other graduate or doctoral programs would be capped at $100,000 in federal loans. Undergraduate students are generally not affected by the new lending limits. So the TLDR there is that the professional degrees are the ones that are falling in the $200K cap and the other ones have a $100K cap. It's not them saying these degrees are good and these degrees are bad. It's just them deciding what the cap is going to be on the loans for various financial and cost-related reasons. It's not that deep, and they're not demoting people. But TikTok thinks this is literally the Handmaid's Tale. And just one final thing from this press release that's important. Myth: the Trump administration does not view nurses as professionals because they are not classified as, quote, a professional degree. Fact: the definition of a, quote, professional degree is an internal definition used by the department to distinguish among programs which qualify for higher loan limits, not a value judgment about the importance of programs. It has no bearing on whether a program is professional in nature or not. So this narrative and hysteria that's all over social media about how they're saying nurse practitioners aren't professionals and other things isn't true. Yet many content creators are genuinely acting like this is the coming of the Handmaid's Tale at long last. Let's listen to this second clip where things get truly hysterical, and not in the funny sense, in the hysteria sense.
Women with advanced degrees should leave the United States immediately. It has become that extreme. And women, if you are pursuing an advanced degree, transfer to another country yesterday.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna let her finish. But the idea that you have to flee the United States because the cap on graduate student loan spending is lower for one degree than the other. What? Why? And also, this only affects future people. It doesn't affect anybody who is currently a nurse practitioner or has an advanced degree is totally unaffected by this. This is just about future students and how much they can borrow. That's it. Just saying, you've got to flee America. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Day. This reclassification of degrees as professional or not professional shows that educated women are the biggest threat to this administration and their goals.
It actually shows that they're trying to bring down the cost of these programs. I don't know whether it will work. I think it will. But the reason they're instituting these caps is because with the unlimited blank check of you unlimited borrowing in effect, allows these programs to raise their prices. And these caps have already resulted in some graduate programs lowering their tuition. So they're not trying to stop women from getting these degrees. First of all, it applies to everyone of any gender. And some of these are female-dominated fields, sure, but it's men and women that are affected by this. And they're doing this in hopes of, the Trump administration, the Department of Education, making these programs more accessible. Now, you could say it's not going to work, you could disagree with the policy, but to say they're trying to stop women from getting these degrees, that's very much the opposite of what their goal is. They're trying to make these degree programs more affordable and take away the blank check that has allowed the schools to just increase the prices nonstop. That, to me, seems sensible, but call me crazy, I don't know.
So what are they trying to do? They are trying to prevent more of us from being out there.
You are about to be quietly legislated back into being barefoot pregnant, sitting in your gilded cage managed by your husband or father, and no one's the wiser. Program.
It's just, it's the boy who cried wolf situation. You're saying stuff that isn't real. It's not happening. And then all these videos have hundreds of thousands of likes and millions of views across all of them. It's this widespread narrative. You're getting people all worked up for no reason. That's actually bad. That's actually really harmful. And if you have legitimate concerns to raise at some point with the Trump administration or crap they're pulling, everyone's going to roll their eyes and think, here we go. Here's the crazy lady again who didn't take her meds this morning. Nobody's going to take you seriously because you're acting like caps on student loan borrowing are somehow the Handmaid's Tale. But what's funny is I believe there were caps not even that long ago, a decade or 15 years ago, and then they removed them and costs went up, so now they're putting them back in. They have to stop acting like everything Trump does is unprecedented and crazy, because some of it is, but a lot of it isn't. And when everything is, nothing is. It's just maddening.
Programs that give women economic independence, professional mobility. And guess what they're doing once they reclassify the degrees? They're lowering the student loan amounts you can qualify for to pay for them. Is it clicking? You heard me right. They're making it harder to finance these programs so fewer women can enter these professionals.
So this is not really true. I mean, it's a little complicated, but they're actually trying to bring the costs down. And even then, most people won't be affected by this because the caps are still pretty high. So here's more from the Department of Education. Myth: nurses will have a harder time securing federal student loans for their programs, and this would contribute to the nationwide nursing shortage. Fact: Department of Education data indicates that 95% of nursing students borrow below the annual loan limit and therefore are not affected by the new caps. Further, placing a cap on loans will push the remaining graduate nursing programs to reduce their program costs, ensuring that nurses will not be saddled with unmanageable student loan debt. It is important to remember that the loan limits are limited to graduate programs and have no impact on undergraduate nursing programs, including 4-year Bachelor's of Science in Nursing degrees and 2-year associate degrees in nursing. 80% of the nursing workforce does not have a graduate degree. So just using nursing as an example, which is one of the examples they keep going to, it makes it quite clear that this won't affect like most people, only just the high-end outliers. So the idea that this is going to make it impossible for people to get these jobs or finance these degrees isn't true. It's just hysteria and alarmism. But yeah, there's a lot of that on the internet these days, I think it's safe to say.
Professionals. This is how you quietly disinvite women from the workplace without explicitly telling them, we don't want your asses in the workplace anymore.
So is it just that they don't want us to work? That they want to take us out? It's giving very much Handmaid's Tale. Through his eye. It's giving very much that.
Today I learned that when you try to make advanced degrees more affordable for men and women that pursue them, it's Handmaid's Tale. Like, this is one of these stories that just makes me feel like we might be cooked, because people actually see this stuff and believe it. My sister sent this to me, that one of the original freak out videos, and she was like, what's going on with this? And I'm like, let me look into it. And as soon as I look into it, I realize it's like, it's not even just Much Ado About Nothing. It's much ado about like negative. There is no there to this panic at all. But of course, some of them also had to make it creepy and imply that like the Trump administration's real goal here is to get rid of mandatory reporters who are required to report suspected child abuse. That is actually the narrative that some of them went with, which I think is really disgraceful. But listen to this.
Is it weird to anyone else that all the jobs that the Department of Education said are no longer professional are all mandated reporters of child abuse? Anyone else think that's just a coincidence? I don't know.
They're getting rid of our mandated reporters. I was talking about the fields that they're trying to get rid of, the Department of Education saying they're not professional anymore. And looking at the list, somebody in my comments, many of the girls, the smart girls, the girls who are thinking about the future, and men as well, there were a couple of y'all in there, were saying they're getting rid of mandated reporters. Social workers, teachers.
Except for the part where none of this is happening at all. Like, I don't know how to tell you this, but they're not getting rid of any of these professions or lines of work, particularly because most of that is even undergraduate. But even for the ones that do have an advanced degree, all they're doing is putting a high-end cap on the amount of student loans they can borrow for graduate programs that is below what most people borrow anyway. So we're not getting rid of the conspiracy theory that they're suggesting here is that the Trump administration is trying to eliminate entire sectors of the workforce, which isn't happening. This has no bearing on that whatsoever. It's just about future applicants' student loan funding, in order to make it harder to catch sexual abusers. It's like, this is literally BlueAnon. It is QAnon for woke people. But the difference is it's not on like 4chan. It's on TikTok getting millions of views and people are eating it up. This is arsenic. This is poison of our political discourse and of commentary, where you are making people dumber, you are misinforming them about current events, and you are making the other side out to be like the most nefarious and evil people imaginable based off something that isn't real. It's genuinely very concerning to me. But this kind of stuff is just constantly spreading like wildfire on social media. We're doing amazing. Everything is totally fine. We're totally not at all cooked, guys. Let me know what you think. Have you seen this wild narrative spreading online? I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Hit that like button while you are at it and all of that.